Hello, my brothers and sisters, and welcome to another episode of rev.hagen's Horrific Cinematic Dissection. Sorry, my brain seemed to skip a groove there for you. As always, I'm your host, Reverend Hagen. And as always, I'd like to welcome our listeners at SCRMradio.com. That's Scream. Radio.com for all your horror and paranormal needs. Now, tonight we're going to be looking at 2018's Summer of 84. This movie was directed by Francois Simard and Anouk Wessel. I know I'm butchering your name, but it's what I do. I'm dyslexic. Don't hate me. It was written by Matt Leslie and Stephen J. Smith, and it stars Graham Berchier, Jude Lewis, and Caleb Emery. This movie is basically about one kid that belongs to kind of a group of kids in the 70s that suspects that his neighbor is a serial killer. There's a lot of things, I guess, that are good about this movie. The kids are fantastic, every one of them. Everybody that stars in this movie is good. It's well acted. The script is all right. The story is interesting. It's kind of a story that's been done a gajillion times before and by many different people. And I don't mean like the kid suspects his neighbor of being a serial killer so much, but the kid suspects his neighbor of being a Nazi. The kid suspects his neighbor of being a vampire. There's Rear Window, the classic, the Hitchcock classic, where Jimmy Stewart suspects Raymond Burr of killing his wife. So it's kind of a common theme, which made it not interesting for me, if I'm being honest. There were some tense moments in it, don't get me wrong. But they really tried, and God bless them, I know they gave it a college try, and it's not that it's not well executed, but it feels like Steven Spielberg could have made this movie. It's kind of his thing. Kids in the 70s that are really close, these group of friends, right? Really close group of friends that dress like they're in a Steven Spielberg movie from the 70s, act like they're in a Steven Spielberg movies from the 70s, and other than a couple of plot twists that weren't really twists at all, it could have been a not so well done Steven Spielberg movie. So I didn't care for it. As far as I'm concerned, don't waste your time. If you're into this kind of thing, if you're not tired of that story being told over and over and over, please watch the movie. Like I said, these are bad performances. The kids actually are really good in this movie. Again, they throw in a lot of things that were happening at the time in the late 70s, early 80s with, there's one kid that's being abused by his parents. Another kid's dealing with the death of somebody. I mean, just blah, 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 blah. I know I sound jaded because I am. There's so many movies that are better that involve a group of kids solving a mystery. That's not really a kid's movie. And this just didn't live up to it for me. I always feel bad when I give a bad review, when it's obvious that the people that made this movie really cared about what they were doing and really wanted to make a good movie. They just fell short. I'm sorry. So I cannot give this movie 2 thumbs up. I give this movie 2 decomposing, desiccated thumbs down. Maybe not down to the ground, but down. Maybe not even, but down. It's been done so many times before, and I don't know whose fault it is. I'll blame the director and the writers. Sorry, you guys, you really missed the mark. What can I say? So, That's it for this episode of Reverend Hagen's Horrific Cinematic Dissection. As always, I'm your host, Reverend Hagen. And as always, I'd like to welcome or to thank our listeners. Jeez, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. Thank our listeners at SCRMradio.com. That's Scream. Radio.com for all your horror and paranormal needs. As always, my brothers and sisters, during this time of madness, stay safe. Know that Reverend Hagen loves you. And you keep your heads up. You have a great night.